Hello and welcome back to Anything Literally. This is the fourth episode. It's the fourth episode. Just already forgetting, we're only a few in. Today's episode, we will be talking about camera techniques and recent events that we thought would be interesting to discuss, and just other random stuff that involves a camera of some sort.
Yeah, because we definitely know what we're talking about.
Yeah, you make it sound like we don't. You can't. We've got to entice these people.
Yeah, we do know. So for anybody that hasn't listened to the first couple episodes, which you should, if you haven't, you can check them out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else.
Deezer, it's all over the place now.
Yeah, but we do some photography in our free time, and I make money doing videos occasionally. So we do know what we're talking about. Yeah.
So somewhat know what we're talking about.
Yeah, somewhat. So the first thing on our topic list is iron wall. So Harry, you're the pro with this.
We have spoken about this before in I think it was the first episode we spoke about it, but because it's such a unique photography style,
and people love hearing about it.
Yeah, so every time I've taken a photo using the iron wall technique, I've always got questions from people going, "Oh, how did you do that? How did you do that?" And so instead of that really basic and arming I did in the first episode of it, I will reiterate it in a much more professional manner here.
Oh, look at you go, Harry. Professionalism.
This is character development going on here. So, if anyone who doesn't know what iron wool is, just to make a really basic thing, it is when you put steel wool or iron wool, funny enough, that's in its name, into typically a whisk, and you spark it using a battery. So you're touching the negative and positive terminals of the battery onto the wall. It short circuits and sparks, and then you spin it really fast on a bit of rope. I typically use paracord just because it's pretty cheap and it's very, very strong stuff, and it's usually what I have available. You spin it and the sparks fly away, and you do a long exposure, and bam, you got this sick looking photo without doing much effort. Yeah. The difference is doing an iron wall photo is really basic, but making an iron wall photo that actually is visually appealing and is different, that's when it gets a little bit more complicated, I think, because typically most people, especially when you're first starting out, or if you just want a really basic one, is you stand there in a circle, you spin it. Really simple. Yep. And it looks good, but it's very, very basic, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think the most easy way to make a photo of iron wall just stand out, instead of spinning it like, in front of the camera in a circle, stand back a bit, maybe have yourself at a different level of the camera and spin above your head so the sparks are flying outwards around.
A halo technique.
Yeah, a halo, yeah. And the photos I've seen of it, and any I've done in the past, it just adds so much more to it, because it just adds a lot of dimension to the photo. You've got a lot of layers to it, because you've got the front, you've got you, and then you've got the back.
I know we've tried, me and Dan and Harry and some of our friends did a iron wall photo, Littlehampton Beach it was?
It was Littlehampton Beach,
Littlehampton, that was one of them, yeah.
We experimented with Harry throwing sparks at me.
That was Littlehampton. I did that. Yeah.
Yeah. And no, the photos look great. You need to make sure you're safe because it's very hot. Yeah, like I was wearing full coats, wet coats, so it didn't do any damage. But the photos turned out really nice, and it's different because, to be honest, if you search iron wall photos, there'll be thousands of examples.
And most of them will be a very boring example.
Yeah, so it's all about making it stand out. So if you want to see any of the photos, follow us on Instagram. But
Though one thing I always want to know is, I honestly have no idea about this. You guys might know. When you have like a flame and you put some salt or some oxide metals, whatever, onto it and it changes colour.
Yeah.
Do you think you could replicate that with this?
Oh, that's a good
Possibly.
idea,
I mean, I honestly cannot remember what metals you need for what colours. It's been so many years since I've done that. I think... Oh no, I'm not even trying to remember. I won't remember. I'll embarrass myself here. But if you
I think it'd be easier if you just change it in Lightroom.
Yeah, but then it doesn't... It's not the same though, is it?
No, you won't get the reflections and stuff.
I think the only problem you'd have with trying to change the colour in real life is it's not necessarily a naked flame, it's just an ember that's being let off from the whisk.
It is literally just wool that's like 1,000 degrees flying away. So maybe it's not possible.
Yeah, I don't think it would react.
If anybody knows, let us know.
Yeah, if anyone actually knows.
People.
I have tried looking this up before, but whatever I come up with, it just doesn't relate to what I'm looking for. So maybe if no one knows and no one gets back to us, we will have to try this out for ourselves.
Yeah, for sure. I'll tell you what we should try. We should try using a Pro Mist, a mist filter, with iron wool. We haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have.
Have we?
No, we only did the short bursts.
Oh, you only did short exposure. I was doing.
Yeah, we didn't do any long exposure. No, I think we should try that. That goes on to our next topic: Pro Mists and like misty filters. We love them.
But I think I could combine the two things there, the iron wool and the mist filters, because we've done it before, and I always think they come out amazing when they're done correctly. The iron wool videos we've done.
Oh yeah.
Like
so
mist filters, if anybody amazing.
Yeah, if anybody doesn't know, me and Harry have done 3 videos now. Or is it 2?
It's 2 videos.
2 videos on our Instagram. Of Harry spinning iron wool very quickly, but we've done it in like slow-mo and not like targeted it as a long exposure, but instead a video. Yeah. Because we'd thought we might as well change it up.
I've not seen anyone do a video like that, or at least I've not seen anyone. Probably there is someone somewhere.
I think we've slowly got better at them. We definitely need to try again. Lockdown sort of put it on a pause.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it. We're definitely going to do more of them. It's about getting the lighting right. It's the hard part because obviously it's pitch black.
It is very dark. Or at least, don't worry, the Sony can see in the dark, as you say. It's all right.
Yes. Yeah, so we shoot on Sony. So luckily, if there are camera people out there, you should know that Sony cameras are very good in low light.
Especially if you get the S series. That's superb.
So, no, one of the questions I always get asked about those videos, Harry, is that how do we pull focus?
Sheer dumb luck.
Yeah. Usually I use heavy focus peaking is what I usually use. And we have to shoot them at like 1.4 or 1.5 f-stop or t-stop, whatever you know. But
I'm also standing there before we shoot it, before any photo or video is being done of it. I'm standing there because it's usually me spinning it with a torch in my face, so you guys can see me in focus. Get the initial focus ready.
Yeah.
I get blinded very much in that. I get blind and burnt.
You definitely can't use autofocus because the camera would not see enough to do that. But I'm excited for doing more.
I mean, if you try to do an autofocus of like a mirrored camera, it'll just be going all the way around as it tries to do something. At least mirrorless might have an attempt of doing it.
No, I'm definitely excited to do more iron wool photos and video. It's a really interesting genre. I know a lot of like A-level students try it, especially because like it's a different technique instead of just taking photos of the same old.
I've not seen any A-level students do it, but that might just be me.
I've seen a couple.
I'm the only one who's done it in my year, so.
Well, there we go. I know one person now. Thank you, Dan.
That says a lot about your year, though. Yeah. No offense to anybody in Dan's year.
Oh no, they all listen to the podcast. It's fine.
Though to be fair, in my when I was in A-level photography, I never finished it because I just got bored and quit the college. The people there, not naming names, I would say that they only joined it because they had to have another subject, and they didn't actually care about it.
Most people tend to take photography A-level because they thought it's easy and it would just be a free A-level.
When in reality, all they want you to do is, can you do this artistic thing that makes no sense and you would never use in your real life photography career? Thanks, bye.
I've been a lot more creative recently.
Yeah, and it's definitely up to you where you take that course.
It is,
because it is an art-based course. So,
I don't really like art-based stuff. I like just photos and
clean,
simple
crisp
edits.
Photos is what you look for. Not.
I mean, I've done crazy edits and I've done all that sort of stuff because one, I had to, but also because experimenting, you can't just not try it because you think it's dumb. And yeah, they're sometimes fun to do, but I would say it still does take away from the fun of just taking a photo and that be that photo. I mean, edit it slightly in Lightroom to get your colours how you want it, but that's about it. That's all I like.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, when I started uni, I started really playing around with colour more and learning about colour. And I don't know, something about editing colour, just I like it. I've really enjoyed learning how to colour grade recently.
Yeah, so the photo I shared to you guys earlier about the London photo. It's for the people who can't see it, obviously, because you can't see our Discord. It is just looking down a London street, and it's got cars down it. And the idea was to make it look like it's from the 1940s or something with the colours. But obviously, the cars give it away. And most people, if they're trying to get that photo, they'll edit those cars out. But I don't know. I don't think I would ever do that, because it's just I would have to wait to get that photo perfect if I wanted it perfect like that.
I think our photography style tends to be, we document what is there in the moment. We don't tend to creatively think what could be here or what could we add. We tend to say this is what it is and this is what it looks like. We don't tend to branch away from that.
So I think that's the way we grew up. Like, I grew up with a dad who films like commercial videos and videos for companies that are all factual and everything's real. It's the same with the school we went to. Like, we started video doing and photo and doing like capturing documentary style videos. So I do think it's slightly changes on the basis of the way you grew up compared to the way other people did, if that makes sense.
100%, yeah, 100%.
I suppose it's whatever you're into. Like, we've got friends that are stuck in like the narrative world. They love it.
You say stuck in it, but you then go carry on saying they love it.
Yeah, they're not stuck in it. That's all they do, but they're really good at it because that's all they do.
Yeah.
Where like, I know we really enjoy music videos and that style, so we're trying to go into that and events and see, we're more documentary events and. I
would say that if I had to only take one type of photo for the rest of my life or video, it would be 100% architecture.
Fair enough.
See, I would say events.
Yeah, I prefer events too.
So I don't know. Right. When I mean architecture, I'm typically talking about like skyscrapers and modern architecture. I'm not a massive fan of old architecture. It looks great when they're done well, but I prefer new ones. Yeah. But like when you find the angle where you look up, typically looking up is the best way because people just don't look up. Yeah. Or even looking down in some instances. It has such a different way of showing the story of that building that the architecture was trying to tell with it.
That's the principle of any genre of video or photo you love, is what story is it telling? Why 100%. Is it? What's the meaning behind it? Because you see so many people these days post an Instagram post that has absolutely no meaning at all. Like, don't get me wrong, we've done it before. I've done it
I do all the time.
Where there's no meaning behind a photo, but they don't get likes. Like, it doesn't relate to people if it doesn't have a meaning or there's not subtly some message behind it. Like, especially when you study it, you learn so much about it when you like go deep into video or photo framing. It's like, do you get what I mean?
Yeah. Finding the meaning behind the photos and the videos and why that shot was taken that way and what that actually means and this idea of that story.
It's kind of like the photography A-level again, where you go, oh, why have they taken a photo like this? And go, because it looks nice, okay? Don't ask any more.
I mean, they do the same in media studies at A-level.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but to be fair, I have some appreciation for it because, like, so it's funny explaining photos that we've taken to people that aren't into photography, and like you're like, oh, that's framed there because it looks good and it's symmetrical with the other side. It's all about balancing a half of a photo out, or the rule of thirds, and it's what visually clicks for people. That's the key, because people aren't going to watch something or look at a photo that isn't visually appealing.
Of course not, no. Why would they?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like asking someone to watch a film that has the worst audio in the world. People won't do it.
Oh, people always underestimate how important audio is.
Yeah.
Audio's
there was one film I watched. I can't remember what the film was called. It was like nearly a decade ago that I watched this film, and I couldn't make it through the first 20 minutes of it because of the audio being that bad. But the story was fine.
Yeah, it's weird because, like, I always bring this up at uni, especially for people that just don't take sound seriously. I'm like, what is the most... When was the last time you watched a film that didn't have audio? Or you didn't pay attention to the audio? And when was the last time you put a film on...
years and 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 years ago.
When was the last time you put a film on and ignored the video?
Yeah.
Or a YouTube video and ignored the video, you just listened to it.
All the time.
That's the thing. Yeah, so everybody listens to stuff. The audio is like the most important part. It's got to sound good.
Like a brilliant example of audio is probably Tenant, if you've ever seen it.
I haven't seen that, no.
Yeah, no, it's very good. I'd recommend it.
Audio in Tenant is very unique to the movie, but
that's the director's style. He does.
Yeah, it really tells your story a lot more than if you just had visuals. It develops it a lot further.
Yeah, because Christopher Nolan is his view on audio is. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's the dialogue isn't the most important part. It's just as long as you can hear it, the action is the important part.
Yeah, that's his philosophy.
Yeah, but he's a very good director. I really enjoyed that film. The narrative.
Another one that I would say that has a really good audio thing that, of course, is very subtle at the same time is the Netflix's show Daredevil for Marvel.
I've watched a couple episodes. I'm
rewatching it now, and it's only really now that I'm picking up on all this stuff. The second time I'm watching it, but the audio, because obviously Daredevil, him being blind, he relies on audio. But whenever his character is there, and you're listening to the fight scenes, for example, like noises that you won't normally hear in a normal fight scene, you pick up on. They're louder in this because obviously the story is following the blind guy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So like the heartbeats are very common that they like to use, or the very, very subtle knife noises of being picked up or swung around. It's louder in this because obviously you're following a guy that is heightened for this.
Yeah.
I find it interesting going... So are you guys, like, I pick up on films, like, stuff like that, sometimes the first time, but mainly the second time. Are you guys the same?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Because it's just a different... I suppose you're not fascinated... You're not necessarily fascinated on just the narrative on the second viewing.
No, I think
one brilliant example would be Baby Driver in the opening scene.
Yeah, that's an amazing film.
You hear strings at a very high pitched tone, which represents the guy's tinnitus.
Yeah,
and I think that audio storytelling before anything is on the screen is one of the beautiful parts of that movie.
Did you ever notice? I think it was whenever he took out his headphones. If you're wearing headphones that are stereo or whatever, you have stereos, you can actually tell this. When he takes out his headphone, the audio from the side he's taking the headphone out dips.
Yeah.
Actually, the attention to detail there is impeccable.
And the fact that everything is in time to the piece of music in that intro sequence and everything.
I think I read that apparently all the actors were wearing headphones so they could listen to the music. And I was like, I don't know any other film that's done that. Because obviously most music is added post, but this was the music was chosen before the story, essentially.
Yeah, it gave meaning to that opening chase scene.
Yeah, because when my friend first told me to go watch this, and I read the thing for it and go, okay, fine, yeah, it sounds all right. I knew the director, he's pretty good. I wasn't expecting much out of this movie, to be honest with you. And then when that first intro scene came on, it was literally the first few minutes of it. Of how in time it was with music. I was like, wow, this is an amazing movie. I don't care what I said before, this is amazing.
Yeah,
it's a brilliant film.
I've got a question for you then. How many, is it me, or do you watch films just for the director, or just for the star in it? Do people do that, or is that just because we're film nerds? I'm curious.
I think that's more of a film nerd person, because I don't know anyone who really just watches a movie for the director.
I've started to, as I've started to understand directors and how they shoot, I've started watching Edgar Wright films a lot more because he directed them. It's only because I've understood their work and started to enjoy their work that I follow their work. It's not something that I think most people naturally do.
But I remember Edgar Wright was saying that on one of his first films, I think it was Shaun of the Dead, it happened. He's quite a young director already, and Shaun of the Dead was in 2004, so this is even young, so even younger. I remember one of the zombies that were playing in it came up to him and basically said this movie was going to do bad and was never actually going to get featured in a proper cinema, essentially insulting the movie, without realising he was speaking to the director.
Yeah.
And he was basically just shows that how young this guy is, but somehow makes these movies that are impeccable in every standard nearly.
It makes me wonder if people like standard people
oh my
who
God,
are like
my
in
dog
standard
is
jobs.
Standard people.
My dog is howling.
That's all right. If like people in like say just an office job, if they understand what a director actually does, because I've got friends who don't, and I've got friends who don't understand how many people are on a film set.
Yeah,
I'm just curious if people, because obviously like a lot of films are shot with 400 people. So yeah, I'm just curious if people realise what a director, a producer, and everybody else on the 400 other people on a film set, if they know what they do. I'm just because obviously we've grown up in the film world, or not really, but we've grown up in the understanding of the film world.
Yeah.
So we sort of appreciate it. But yeah, on the topic of films and photography, so Dan has put on this topic list macro.
Oh no,
I don't think I put macro. No, that was Harry.
That was Harry. Okay. So Harry, do you want to go into macro photography then?
Yes. So obviously, I started out earlier talking about architecture, which is big, massive landscape stuff. So now I'm going to bring it in small. So macro photography, I think, if this is people always assume that you need expensive lenses for this, and sometimes it's true, you really do need some expensive lenses, like the probe lens that is like over $1,000, I think. And
you can actually get cheaper probe lenses now, I believe.
Can you?
Yeah.
Well, there we go. Learn something new every day. But I think the one technique that people don't realize is a really easy way of doing macro photography is flipping your lens.
Oh yeah. You've tried to sell me on this before.
I have tried to sell you this, and I've done it. I tried it with a vintage lens that I have access to, and the photos that come out are let's just say they're very unique in the way they look, because it is very, very shallow depth of field. The focus area is tiny, and I don't think you could actually really take a photo using the viewfinder on a mirrored camera. On a mirrorless, obviously, it would be the same as using the viewfinder. But when the photos come out, for just literally a cheap, easy way of taking macro photography, it's a simple way of doing it and works.
To note here, you can't use any fly-by-wire or modern mirrorless lenses. They will not work with this technique because obviously they don't have the same kind of focusing system as a vintage lens would have.
Yes, you kind of do need a lens that's got its own manual focus to it. Otherwise, it won't really work at all. And I've also found prime lenses work best with this. Lenses that can zoom are not so good at this. So a vintage prime lens, of course, they're typically expensive. So already you might as well just buy a proper prime lens. Proper macro lens. But if you have it, there you go. It's a technique for you to try.
I don't actually own a macro lens anymore. I used to.
I only own one, and it's not very good.
I suppose I've got access to macro lenses, so it's not as big of a deal. But
there's only really 2 macro lenses in the Sony lineup. 2 nice ones.
Yeah, and they're
least.
really expensive.
Yeah, they're about $1,000 each.
I actually only paid because I saw it in CEX, the tech trade pre-owned store ones. I was in there and I saw it and I go, well, I might as well just buy it. It's like 50 quid. And it was a 70 to 300 for my Nikon. But when you go out to the 300mm, it's got a switch to go to macro mode, so you get even more focus range. And for 50 quid, it is pretty good. Obviously, the lens itself would cost more when buying proper,
brand new.
It's because it's a high f-stop, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's not a good quality. As in, yes, it's got a high f-stop. It's not lovely and bokeh or whatever. It's not the best in the world. Let's just put it that way. You need a lot of light.
Yeah.
A lot of light. But it looks good. And for 50 quid, I think it was good fun to play around with it. I used it for like 2 photos and that was it. So it was good fun.
Fair enough.
Talking about lenses, though. So we shoot on prime, or I shoot on primes, I should say. But I've recently been moving towards zooms. Just because of the convenience.
I'm going to zoom into my microphone here and ask why.
Oh, I missed what Harry just said then, because Discord is useless.
Oh, I was coming from a distance into my microphone saying I'm going to zoom into this microphone and ask why.
Right. For God's sake. It was a dodgy pun that we missed. It's fine.
I'm hoping the audio even picked up on the effect of me moving close into my mic. I don't think it might.
But yeah, no, I've been really enjoying using zooms at the moment just because they're convenient. I know Joel, a friend of mine, also has. He's just bought a load of zooms because it's so much more convenient for like documentary style shooting, and we've been shooting a lot of virtual events and they've all been run and gun, just set up quickly and go.
Travel photography, it's easy.
If you don't have a plan with what you're shooting, having a zoom allows you to be more flexible with how you shoot that thing.
100%. I mean, my favourite lens that I wouldn't say it's my favourite, but it's one I use the most because it's so versatile and useful. For photography, I wouldn't use it really for filming, is the 18-200 by Tamron. It's nowhere near the best lens in the world by any stretch of nature, especially given the fact it's 18-200, so you get a bit of chromatic affecting when you go to 18mm if you're not careful. But for like, I think it was £200 for it, maybe, for like running, gunning around maybe a city. If you're doing city photos or you're not really sure what you want, it's an amazing lens because you can go, right, this photo will look really good at like 150, but this photo that I'm standing next to 18mm 100%. It stops you swapping lenses all the time if you don't know what you want.
No, I love the look of primes. And I think my favourite lens is probably an 85 at the moment.
The 85 prime is a beautiful one.
85mm primes always are the best. No question.
Yeah. I suppose everybody loves the 50. I don't actually own a 50 currently.
I think people love the 50 because it's cheap compared to other ones. And it looks good. Especially if you're using it on a crop sensor where it's almost an 85 by mathematics. So I can see why people like the 50.
I shoot everything full frame, so really like I shoot 35 and 85 for pretty much every piece of like narrative work we do.
Yeah, 35 is a really good filming standard, I would say. It's not too wide and you're not pulling in too far. It's a good combo, I would say.
Yeah, so I'll definitely eventually get a 50, probably quite soon, because we've got a lot of jobs coming up. But I think a 35 and 85 is definitely my go-to. Dan, what's your go-to? Is it?
So in terms of lenses, if I'm on a gimbal, I'll be shooting with a 24 prime for the low light, and generally it's a really nice sharp Sigma prime. If I'm just run and gun, it depends what I'm running gunning. If I'm just out doing a bit of street photography, I tend to use the 55 Sony Zeiss. I don't know why, if I'm completely honest. I just tend to gravitate towards it.
It's a lovely bit of
lens. It's very sharp.
It's incredibly sharp, I'll give them that.
It's got the word Zeiss in it, so it means it has to be good. Even if you don't know what the word Zeiss even relates to, it is such a fancy word, it must mean it's good.
It warrants an extra 250 quid on top of the normal lens price.
Yeah, see, Dan has... So don't correct me if I'm wrong here, Dan. You're more photography based and more autofocus based, where I'm more.
Yeah,
you
shoot manually a lot more than me.
Yeah,
but that's because you shoot video more.
I wouldn't shoot. I don't like shooting photos in manual much, but video is definitely manual for me.
Yeah,
I know it's harder, but
I would say I was more photography based than video based, if I had to be honest. I don't know.
Fair enough.
I just don't. I don't know. So there we go, putting that out there.
But yeah, but every cinema camera out there doesn't have none of them have autofocus.
No,
unless you get some Sony.
It's only really the Canons and the Sonys that do. Like none of the Blackmagics or the Arri or the Red.
But when you say cinema camera, like the ones that I would associate cinema to is the Arris, the Reds, the Blackmagic, and the IMAX. I wouldn't really associate anything else with it at all.
No.
The Sony ones, the Panasonic ones, I'll be saying documentary maybe, live TV.
Yeah, so I'd say the same. Sony, Canon, and Panasonic are, I would go, put them in the documentary class.
And having
camera.
autofocus for documentary is like a must because you can't just go, right, here's the polar bear. No, I'm not in focus. Oh no,
I've got a 24
you shot. You missed a shot. You need that versatility quickly.
Yeah, no. What is your favourite shot?
My favourite
next topic.
My favourite shot.
Type. So, like, would you say a silhouette, a wide shot, mid shot?
I do love silhouette photo because when they're done correctly, a silhouette can. Well, some people say they tell a story, which I guess can. That's not usually what I'm looking for, though. It's just quite pretty looking, I would say. But I don't do many silhouettes.
Yeah.
I would say probably my favourite is still probably the Iron Wall, to be honest. I just love how they look. It's just to be honest. Architecture and Iron Wall, my favourite look.
In terms of shots that I like, I've started to love doing portraits at a kind of medium focal distance. So they show a bit more of your surroundings and a bit more about the person. They're quite nice to do.
Yeah, so some of your portraits are really nice. Especially the ones like down that tunnel you took quite recently.
Yeah. The background just obliterates on them. It's beautiful. It's a style that I love. Just the background being non-existent and blurry as anything, and then the face and the eyes being pin sharp focus in some very interesting settings. In terms of video, though, I tend to prefer like interview shots. I don't know what it is about an interview shot, but on a 70-200, you can get some really nice, simple shots with it.
I know that some of my friends, they love and probably will only ever really do if they went professional is car photography.
Yeah.
So like Rafe, who might be a guest on a later episode about cars, funny enough. It's a bit of spoiler there for everyone. He works at a car garage, a dealer. So he gets access to the cars all the time and he takes photos a lot and you see them a lot. And you also see them on the dealer's Instagram page as well. But whenever there's like an event or if he goes down to Porsche or anything like that, he's always taking photos. Like, even when we walk around Horsham, he's got his camera on him just in case a nice car appears. And I've never really been like that. I probably won't ever be like that because, I don't know, it's not me. But seeing how he's doing it and taking the photos all the time of these cars, his photography from when he started, Rafe, if you're listening, I'm giving you a compliment here.
Take note.
His car photography when he first started out was good, but I wouldn't say it was professional level. I wouldn't pay for it at all when he first started out early years. But nowadays I would quite happily, if I was an employer or anything like that, I would quite happily pay him to take photos of a car or something like that, because you do it so often you get good at it.
I'd say my favorite shot is definitely like the narrative, well lit, colourful shot. I do not like just plain shots. I'm a big fan of having at least some colour or a black and white shot that has some meaning behind it. But I'd say, like, on the point of you never carry your camera around, like, so I used to carry my camera around everywhere, but now I've moved more to we shoot videos that are all prepared, scripted.
Yeah, there's more planning behind what we do.
Now I'd say I don't carry my cameras around as much, unless we're going on a walk or I know we're going to take some photos. But yeah, no, I've definitely moved towards your side of the story, Harry, where like
That you're just
I do
being
not
lazy.
have my. I wouldn't say it's lazy because I enjoy taking photos out and about.
Yeah.
It's more I've learned to separate doing it for a job and doing work from my personal life. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
still learning.
A couple of years ago, not so much last year, and because obviously obvious reasons, COVID. So it would be a few years ago now because it's already 2021. I used to always love going to London to basically spot cars. I wasn't so much there for the architecture. I wasn't so into it then. I was into cars big time there, about car photography. I just walk around London looking for cars just for fun. But nowadays I wouldn't really see myself doing that so much. Unless I had a proper reason for it.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Like, Dan, I know you shoot a lot out and about, but you're more into the portrait scene.
The stuff I've been shooting recently, I haven't been enjoying. I feel like I've lacked creativity when I've been out shooting because there hasn't been like a key goal in mind. I've just been shooting because I have to for A-level photography.
But do you not think that has something to do with the pandemic?
Probably, yeah. Because what I would love to be doing right now for my area that I'm moving into is shooting different people in different areas and things like that, and it's very difficult during a pandemic to do something like that.
There was a video I recently watched by Peter McKinnon. I'm sure you guys know who he is, and anyone who doesn't know, he's a big YouTuber about photography and videography and all that stuff. Really good if you like that sort of stuff, go check him out. But there was a recent video he did, I can't remember which one it was, but he basically spoke about that, writer's block, but for photography, essentially. You're getting bored of it. The thing that he suggested that apparently helped him big time is just take a break, which he did. That's why he didn't make videos for nearly a month, it felt like, is when you do so much of something you love, even if you love it so much, you're going to get bored of it eventually because it's tedious.
Yeah, you get burnt out and bored of it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So what he says, and what he suggests that every single person should do, for pretty much in any industry, really, because it does work, is just take a pause from it. And then wait for that ambition, that creativity to come back, and then go back into it when you're not forcing yourself to make content. You want to make it.
Yeah. I think the way I've started to combat it is obviously doing film photography, because it's different and you think differently about what you're doing.
Yeah, it just gives me... even if you're not just taking a break fully for photography, changing it, like going to film, that's 100% a different way of doing it.
Yeah, changing up the way you shoot is always a good way to kind of clear the block, I think.
Yeah, I would 100% say that, yeah.
Models, though?
Models, yes. So
that was the best segue I've done all week.
So, obviously, there's two types of models you can do in a photo. You can do people modeling or object modeling. Pretty self-explanatory, really. I'm sure I don't need to explain this to people. But I want to bring it onto the macro photography as well for models. So I've done it before, and some people even asked me if it was real what I've done, because if you do it well enough, it looks really impressive. Yeah. Is if you take a toy, for example, a car toy or a boat or something like that, and you use a macro camera or lens, and you get really nice and close up to it and make it look big. That's what you want to do, is make it look big, okay? And then kind of make an environment, maybe rely more on Photoshop. I kind of relied more on Photoshop because I didn't really have props or anything. And you can basically build an environment where, I think the one I did that people asked me if it was real was I took a photo of a car and I had it a white sheet of fabric with rocks underneath it and rocks on top to make it a bit of, flooring looking. And after some editing and adding a sunset in the background and changing the slight colouring on the white, people asked me if I actually managed to get a car onto the beach and if I got it stuck. Because people thought it was real. Yeah. So you can always fool people with toys, guys. Don't need to actually hire out an expensive car and get it stuck on a beach.
Yeah.
I know, who got caught doing that? Not caught, but... I don't know how to say it. They weren't exposed. They admitted to it. They were... One of their adverts featured a drone shot. That wasn't a drone shot. It was a probe lens pulling away from a model car that had been modelled. And I was...
Not sure.
When I saw it, I was like... films do this all the time. They did this in Harry Potter with the castles.
The Star Wars prequels, all pretty much done on prop.
Yeah.
And it's good because you can make these incredibly detailed environments and models and not rely on CGI. So it's pretty good, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, not that the money was saved into making a better script. It wasn't the best script in the world, but still, it looked good.
Yeah. In all fairness, the models in Star Wars are very impressive with how they're utilised, especially in the prequels.
Because it's millions of pounds.
Yeah.
I always found it funny. I've no idea if it's true or not, but I read it. Apparently, the stormtroopers from the very first movie, The New Hope, apparently they were paid like $10 for their entire role. Because obviously it wasn't very popular then. No one really knew what it was at all. And not a big budget at all, by any stretch of the nature. I was like, imagine that, $10 for being a stormtrooper in what is now one of the biggest movies in the world.
Yeah.
I wonder if they ever paid them back.
Then.
Yeah, I wonder if they ever actually paid them back for that, like compensation in later day when they got big and famous. Probably not. I don't know.
No, probably not. So moving on slightly from models, lighting. Now, I don't know.
The most important thing.
It is one of the most important things. Along with sound, it's very important to have good lighting, or at least controlled lighting, I'd say. I know, yes. Ben, for university, you had to use very controlled lighting to recreate a scene from an Alfred Hitchcock film. Am I right in that?
Well, yeah, let's not get into that, because I tried to use very controlled lighting and got in trouble for it.
Why did you get in trouble? What happened?
So we were shooting. I was like 2 months into uni. And we were shooting so we had to recreate an Alfred Hitchcock scene. We could choose any scene. It had to meet a certain criteria.
Okay.
So
most of its scenes are pretty good.
I chose a scene from, I believe it was Vertigo. It was a bedroom scene where the woman, I cannot remember the characters' names. The woman walks into the guy's living room and they have a chat. She sits on the floor in front of the fire. Okay. So we used my house because it was the easiest location to get our hands on. This is pre-COVID, bear in mind. So it was all safe,
2019.
Yeah.
Anyone who had a common cold were allowed to be with other people.
Yeah. So there was a load of us in my house shooting this scene. And because my dad is in the film world, I had access to equipment. I own my own equipment because I shoot outside of uni. And so I lit the place very well for the scene. And afterwards, I showed them the footage, the lecturers, and they weren't best pleased because the fact that our group had access to equipment that other groups didn't. So I took it as, because I was DOPing.
Yeah.
So I took it as, I might as well use what I've got.
Damn, maybe. I don't see how. I mean, obviously there is an unfair advantage. I can understand why they come from that.
Yeah.
But who actually
create the best work possible, then why not?
Yeah, I was trying to create showreel content, and I was trying to create something that could be used. No, to be honest, I didn't like the way it turned out.
You shouldn't have told them that you used your own stuff.
Yeah, I'd much rather use stuff outside of uni.
No. What you should have done is you shouldn't have told them you use your own stuff. You use the university equipment, and it makes it look like you're much better than everyone else.
No, the point is they didn't let you take any uni equipment apart from the camera.
Oh, right. So it's just a useless assignment then.
Yeah. No, it was more to get, because some of the people on my course haven't filmed anything, so it makes sense. It was to get them out and about and understanding. I enjoyed it. It was a really good time filming with a load of my friends for a day in my house. It was a really good experience, but there was a whole argument leading up to and afterwards about what we did. Because so I originally checked we could light it ourselves, and they said, oh yeah, that's fine. And then I checked like a day before, and they said it might not be allowed. So I did it anyway. And got the fallout afterwards. But no, I never got in trouble. Let's just clear that up.
See,
it was more of
I kind
them
of
telling me I shouldn't have.
Kind of had the same situation back at A-level photography. Not quite the same. Of like,
before to interrupt. The biggest reason they weren't happy was because I shot day to night, so I blacked out all the windows, which was the most obvious part. Yes, but as you were saying, Harry.
So in A-level photography, it's not quite the same situation, but I did get kind of told off for it. So obviously, before I did A-level photography, I'd obviously taken a lot of photos beforehand, and I had a massive amount of photos I had access to because of it, basically.
Yeah.
So when it came to doing the photos for A-level photography, apart from the few occasional things, most of it I could just use pre-existing photos and not do any work. And they got annoyed that I kept using photos I had access to and my own work, and using that instead. Because like when they were talking about what was it? I honestly can't remember what sort of subjects they were now. It's so long ago. But when I was like, all right, I've got this photo here that I took. It's an amazing photo. I really like it. And it 100% matches this. So I'm not going to bother to go take another photo. I don't have time for that. I'm going to do something more interesting. I don't really remember what I did, but it was probably more interesting. And, I put it in the book. And no one else complained apart from one teacher who got annoyed at me for kept doing it. And she always got annoyed for me for doing it. And yeah, I don't think she liked me very much.
Well, I get it. I constantly have this battle at uni because I'm always like, I've got to be careful what I say here because I love everybody.
Always say allegedly.
I enjoy the course, but they don't have the best understanding to the fact that I shoot outside of the uni, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I know I've talked to you guys about this before. And to be honest, we're 50 minutes into the podcast. I don't think any of the lecturers are listening. So, I know a couple of my mates will be, but hey. So like I do stuff out of the uni, as everybody knows by now. And the uni don't really have an understanding for that because the majority of people don't. Let's be honest, they don't shoot. But I'm on the view of you should shoot outside of uni because why wouldn't you?
100%. You're there for
three
it.
films. You're only producing 3 films a year at uni. Why wouldn't you shoot? Why wouldn't you shoot more than that?
Yeah, and when you guys showed me, it was Ben, not Dan. You weren't involved with it, Dan. When you showed me the last university film you made, the army one. Yeah, a good part
rough
of it.
cut of it.
Yeah, it was a rough cut of it. But when I watched parts of it, I would say a lot of people there allegedly need more practice using equipment. Allegedly.
We were only first years, bear that in mind.
Yeah.
So they've only had like 6 months experience. And some of these people come from colleges that don't have equipment.
I can understand why a lot of these people won't have much experience in this, especially if you're first years. But if you are in that situation where you're making this film for university and it's not, let's say it's not perfect by any stretch of the nature, why wouldn't you go out and do more of it to get better at it, to get a better grade?
Yeah,
because you're there spending lots of money on this degree and this qualification. And obviously you're going to get this qualification because obviously you want to go into this industry, or why would you bother with this effort? Why not put your all effort into it and actually get a qualification that people would actually be impressed by instead of going, I got a B.
Yeah.
Or whatever the uni equivalent is.
Yeah, of the second or I actually don't remember that they
confusing terms that nobody understands.
Me and my mates always have that view. Like, I've got friends at uni who don't have the opportunity to like film at home because they've got other commitments and stuff. Yeah. And that's completely fine. But you can tell they're passionate about it whenever they're filming something they do have time for. But there 100%. Are other people on my course, not my course, on the production course, which is much bigger than my course, who have the wrong view, in my opinion, that all they need to do is the uni work and they'll get a job in the film industry.
Yeah, it just doesn't work like that, does it?
Well, it doesn't, especially considering I've been at the uni 2 years and I haven't used a single piece of the work for show reel. That's
it was like it was like you said, you never even went for the interview because you just showed your previous work to them.
Yeah,
if you can build up a good portfolio of work, it tends to give you a good chance when trying to get a job. If you can build up something that can impress people and show what you can achieve.
Yeah, so for example, on that, the showreel stuff and qualifications, because I've hired quite a few people for doing stuff at work and other stuff, and majority of the time it's programmers, the majority of the time. But when I go to look at them and I see these profiles and what they're offering, I never, ever really focus on what qualifications they've got. I mean, yes, I'll take into account occasionally, but what I'm looking for is what they've done. I mean, if they haven't done much, I might take into their qualifications into account, just so I can get an idea of what they might be like if they have a tiny showreel, because they might be brand new to this industry, and that's fair enough. I won't be mean to them because of that.
Yeah, you were new at one point.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone was new at one point. I can't just be biased because someone's new. So sometimes I look at qualifications, but most of the time it's 100% down to what work you've done. And if it's good, I'll probably hire you. If it's bad, I'm not going to even consider you, even if you've got a PhD.
It's not just paid work, it's free work.
Yeah.
It's personal stuff. So a lot of our showreel, we didn't get paid to film. We filmed it because we wanted showreel content.
Yeah.
And it's that attitude. There's some people, some really good friends of mine, the people probably listening to this podcast all have the attitude they should. They should
We hope so.
Okay, I'll give a shout out because I know Brad's probably listening to this because he's told me he listens to the podcast in lectures. And shout out to you, Brad, if you are. He's an acting student, and he when we shot our Alfred Hitchcock stuff, he wasn't in my group. He was in another group, and they had massive problems with the editor. So the editor for their film, I'm not going to drop names because this sounds really bad, didn't edit the film.
Oh, that's always a good thing.
So his only job he could not do.
They shot the whole film, and we all had individual jobs. Like I was DOPing, camera opping. Brad was, I don't know what he was doing for his film. I don't think you could act in your own film. So I think he was doing something in the production.
He was makeup.
maybe we don't know. But his group, the editor didn't edit the film. They had a deadline. She just didn't meet it. Therefore, they had a big problem. Brad saved that pitch. So that basically, after you'd done the film, you had to pitch it and show it to the rest of the group of 60-odd people and say, this is what we've done. This is our PowerPoint of how we made it. And you had to give a presentation. Brad and the others in that group saved that presentation. And
good on
it was
Brad.
Gonna sink. it was gonna sink because there was no edit. They couldn't show the film. But
you can look at the raw footage, guys, and just imagine the edit.
They saved it because they showed what the rest of the team did, and good on them.
I mean,
but it's having the attitude.
If the reason why
actually,
if the reason why the person didn't edit the film was a valid reason, then I could understand.
It wasn't.
Okay, so it wasn't a valid reason, so I'm not going to understand them now. Why bother even being there if you're not going to do it? You're just ruining it for everyone else.
Yeah. I mean, okay, I'm not. Okay, I mean, we should stop talking about this here before I say too much.
Before Harry offends someone.
Before I offend someone. I don't know these people.
Normally the ones who offend
good on you, Brad, if you're listening to this. No, I've really enjoyed this episode. Talking about equipment, photography, videography.
I think it's been
surprising
all right
that we enjoy things
that we like,
that we talk about.
I know. If any of you want to listen to this again, or listen to more of us talking about cameras and video and photo and techie stuff, let us know because we can definitely do more of these, or we can move to a completely different topic. Yeah, like Harry said, we've got some other topics planned.
There's
a car one probably coming up.
Next week is about movies, and that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, we hope it's about movies. We were going to do this week as movies, but that didn't end up happening.
Forgot to watch the movie.
Got to watch the movie.
Yeah,
apologies.
Dan forgot to watch the movie. So.
Good.
But yeah,
I wouldn't say it was 100% down to movies, though. I think the main point is TV show.
Yeah, TV show.
That relates.
So if
to
there's
movies.
any TV shows you want us to watch, let us know.
And I'll forget to watch them for you. Free of charge.
We'll just make an episode of explaining it to Dan.
Yeah, I think we've agreed on a new schedule as well. So for the meantime, we're going to go every Wednesday. So tune in on a Wednesday and you'll be able to hear a new episode. But for now, that has been the Anything Literally podcast.
Thank you very much for listening.
See you next week.
Ciao.
Cheerio.
See ya.